Off-Road Garage Podcast, and here are Jason and Jim.
And we're live.
And that's it, buddy.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Special guest tonight. I'm looking forward to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah?
About making all the power with all the smoke and
All the
noise
smoke
and air
and-
whistling and awesomeness.
Yeah.
I'll do the best I can to educate you.
Yeah. We got Eric, Motor City Diesel. Yeah. Welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you. Glad
Your
to be
first,
here.
our first diesel guest.
Yeah.
It's my first
Rep-
podcast.
represent-
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's first.
There we
It's a win-win.
exactly.
Hell yeah.
So I'm actually I don't know anything about diesels, for the record, other than they take the different pump at the gas station. Like, I know that much.
They definitely take the different pump.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about
what
that.
exactly happens if you don't put in the right pump?
I know one won't fit. One way or the other doesn't fit.
Well, honestly, oddly enough, I've never seen a diesel blow up from putting gasoline in it. We had a guy at the shop that drove all the way from the UP to our shop with gasoline. It was a 2014 6.7 Power Stroke. It was a doctor.
Okay.
And he said it wasn't running right, but he didn't care. And he drove it all the way in. By the time he got to us, there was like a quarter tank left in it. And I drained it out, topped it off with diesel fuel, put some new fuel filters in it, and sent her on her way. Still out on the road today. Thing put down like 200
Okay.
like 290 miles on gasoline.
I guess. Sure.
I got no power and it feels funny. I don't know
It's just
why.
not making the same.
Sounds awful funny, and it just is very pingy, is exactly what he said.
Yeah.
Very pingy.
I'm like, well, you know,
You got to love the commitment to that, though. Like, I'd have freaked out by the bridge, and he drove all the way home.
I mean, unlimited funds, you're certain.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
You know, hey, if I got to buy a new motor, I got to buy a new motor. It's
Right.
no big deal.
Stupid. You should have been like, yeah, you do, as a matter of fact. This one's going somewhere
Matter
else.
of fact, you
I'm
do.
going to make a go-kart out of the other motor.
The whole truck, it's bad.
Yeah, and I mean, really, gasoline and diesel, as far as the motor itself is concerned, they're identical.
Okay.
Even gasoline motors are starting to take some tricks from diesels as far as turbos go, direct inject, all that kind of stuff. But pretty much all in all, you've got 4-stroke motor. It's pretty much all the same as far as all that's considered, except for your pistons coming up and making so much heat from the friction of the piston compressing. That instead of a spark going off with a fuel-air mixture inside of it, you're spraying the diesel fuel in at the correct timing. It makes the explosion, and then also the injector keeps spraying fuel most of the way down the stroke. So rather than just getting a boom out of it, you're actually getting a spray, and the explosion is continuing to get bigger as the piston goes down. That's where all the torque comes from, is because it's continuing to spray diesel fuel in there. So,
Jay doesn't care about science. He just likes hearing big explosion.
Like explosions and fire.
well, I mean,
So the air compressing is what generates the heat, like
Absolutely.
a thunderstorm, like the thunder around lightning makes the heat.
absolutely, yep.
There's no spark plug per se that will
Nothing.
ignite anything.
And that's why
Nothing.
they're just built so beefy, right? You just take that
Absolutely.
punishment
Oh, yeah.
constantly.
Well, you figure most of them have a 30 thousandths clearance between the top of the piston and the cylinder head.
Okay.
And you're talking about a stroke that starts off at somewhere, anywhere between 5 and 6 inches.
Okay.
And it's squeezing all that air down. Not to mention the fact that, when you're heavy in the throttle making 30 pounds of boost and that piston's all the way at the bottom, you've got 30 pounds of pressure in that
Just
cylinder.
cramming
Then the
it.
valve closes and the piston squeezes that down to 30 thousandths.
Hell yes.
And then it ignites.
And then
or
it ignites.
detonates, I guess.
Yes.
Yes.
So
I
to
love it.
to continue the power, the spray continues after the
Piston is on
downstroke.
way down, correct.
I did not know that.
Yes.
No. Oh,
Yeah.
that's all right. You learn something every
And
day.
it's a little different from
Yeah.
truck to truck, from engine to engine,
Right.
stuff like that, And it's become more so with newer diesels than it used to be. Older diesels that had manual injection pumps in them, it was a pretty much predetermined amount of fuel that was going into the cylinder.
Okay.
They didn't make quite as much torque or power until you really started to, put bigger injectors in, put larger delivery valves, play with timing a little bit, stuff like that. But newer ones, they do pulses.
Okay.
So they're spraying pulses of fuel, to keep the atomization up rather than just having a, garden hose dumping into the cylinder, which is essentially what you're doing with the older stuff. Or, when you go into bigger injectors on even the new trucks, like say a 6-liter Power Stroke. You got factory injectors. Say we go with 170 530 injectors. It means that the holes on the end of the ejector tips are 30% larger, and then it's 175 cc availability of fuel to spray down into the cylinder. So, as you increase it, like if you had a 205 100, that's literally like having 2 injectors in one hole.
Hell yes.
And
More power.
Some
Right.
of these guys that are really getting crazy, it's in 6 liters, like, 400, 300s. It's like having 3 injectors in one hole.
Wow.
Essentially, it's like having, 24 injectors in your V8
Right.
engine.
Yes.
That's definitely miles per or gallons per mile, not miles per gallon at that point. Yeah.
It's really miles per gallon.
So you're like a mad scientist. You're like sort of like a mad, because you're talking about all these thousandths and CCs.
I
And
told you.
I thought he was going to come here and be like, yee, we're going to roll coal. And I was expecting to hear that. He's like talking like a scientist.
Well,
Yeah.
rolling coal to a certain point is cool, but at a certain point, you're just making EGTs and you're just going to crack a piston or, turn something into a plasma cutter and melt a piston.
He showed me before at the
Yeah,
shop.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've had plenty of trucks come in. I've seen trucks where, the piston melted so bad that it liquefied the piston so bad that as the piston's on its way up and it's literally turning into a molting ball of aluminum, as the compression is going through the center in the hole that it burned in the piston, liquid aluminum actually gets sprayed down and around the cylinder, and there's so much pressure that it actually corkscrewed up the push rods. It was on the cam, on the push rods, up into the valve cover.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's
We're talking about a lot of heat and
Yeah.
experience.
It's a lot of
pretty
heat, a
funny.
lot of pressure.
It's
Yeah.
pretty funny when you open them up. I wasn't driving it hard. No, not at all.
Oh, nah.
Somebody was.
You're lying to yourself, not me.
It's all the same check.
Yeah. Exactly. Let me show you why you're an idiot. And this is
And
gonna
it's
cost
not like
money.
you're a dealer where we're going to come and lie to you. They might as well just come and say, yeah, dude, I was being stupid. Fix it.
Well,
Like,
right.
sometimes I feel like people think if they lie to me, that the repair is going to be cheaper. Like somehow,
like, yes,
like
I-
if I say I wasn't
see
being that
that.
hard on it, it won't cost me as much money. And I'm like, the
You'll
repair's
just,
the repair.
you'll just wave your wand.
because you're going to call the piston company and say, hey, he didn't mean it. And they're going to be like, oh, we'll give you some free pistons then. Sorry.
Right, exactly.
He didn't mean it.
I think that the piston in the engine itself will just fuse itself back together and be good because I wasn't being hard on it. Oh, all right then. Problem solved.
So what made you get into diesels? I mean, everybody else, like I know, is in hot rod and stuff, is like hot rods, gas motors.
Really, it's my roots. I was born into a trucking company. My
Okay.
dad and my uncle had a trucking company. At one point, we had 12 trucks, but when I was like 6 years old, my dad made me start coming into the shop, and pretty much over from there. I started working at a actual repair facility when I was 16 years old, out in Howell. And then just kind of took off from there. Ended up working for a giant farm for a few years. That was a really cool job. They just don't pay shit.
Okay.
So I had to leave there, even though that was probably, as far as a job is concerned, one of my
So
favorite jobs.
we're talking like dairy farm or something? You guys worked at a farm?
Cash crop.
Okay.
Cash crop. Yeah.
And you
know.
just fixed all their cool big stuff?
You never knew what you were going to do from day to day.
Okay.
I mean, I went from being a mechanic to a farmhand.
Okay.
Literally, nobody is anything there other than a farmhand. And while yes, most of the time I'd be fixing things,
You're just like the farmhand with
There's-
extra skills.
Yeah.
times I'd be on my way into the shop, and the boss would call me and be like, "Hey, where you at right now?" I'm like, "I'm on my way to the farm shop." All right, cool. When you get there, grab a 9620 and head on up to New Lothrop with it. And that's a big articulating 8-wheel tractor.
Okay.
Got to drive it an hour and a half up north, and then by the end of the day, I might be 100 foot up on a leg on a grain elevator, changing out a motor or something like that. I mean, you just never knew what you were going to do. He ran a giant haunted, like haunted house, hayride, all that. Sometimes I'd end up working that. I mean,
Okay.
you just never know what you're going to do at the farm. That was one of the coolest things about it.
At least you never said, like, go get some rubber bands and castrate these sheep. I mean, like,
Yeah, no, never had to deal with any
about to have
livestock.
a rough day.
I think I might have been like, you know what, I'm all set.
I'm going to go fix that
Run 'em
truck,
out.
that tractor.
Run 'em
Yeah.
out. That tractor looks broke.
Like, pretty sure the ass end's blown out on that truck over there. I'm gonna go do that. Find somebody else to
Right.
strap some rubber bands
I'm
and
gonna-
some nuts,
I'm
man.
gonna go swim in some diff fluid before I go deal with that.
Exactly. But yeah, for me, it's all pretty organic.
Okay.
I mean, I never went to school. I never did, anything like that. It's just school of hard knocks and just turned into what it is. I get sick of shop owners being assholes and, never listening and not being decent to the employees and stuff like that. And I finally just said, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it for myself.
Fair enough.
I try and run the shop the way that I wanted the shop to be run when I was an employee. I think I do a pretty good job. My guys seem pretty happy with me.
They stay?
Yeah.
If they're staying, they're happy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because in that line of work, I mean, they can go work for UPS and be a diesel mechanic or whatever.
Go anywhere. Right
That
now.
guy's not happy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if they weren't happy over here at Motor City, they could walk. I mean, if they have that skill set, it's not like it's not in demand right now.
Oh, by the way, Motor City's hiring right now, too.
Okay.
And, we
Local diesel mechanics.
Yep, we pay quite well. Benefits. All
Anybody
that
push a
stuff.
broom or anything? Because I can do that.
You're gonna have a lot less excitement doing that.
Yeah, I'm not sure about any of this whole 40-100, but I can push a hell of a bush broom, boy.
I think the excitement is like you guys have a vast array of trucks. Like I've seen
Yes.
performance trucks in there. I've seen fleet trucks in there.
Yeah.
I've seen big trucks in there. Like you guys.
Every time I drive
do
by
it all.
something
I think
cool,
that's kinda
Hummers.
cool.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely an advantage there. Because if you were just a fleet mechanic, you're working on the same truck every day.
We're not real good at saying no either. I mean, other than like sprinters, sprinters can kiss my ass. I'm not touching a sprinter.
Okay.
It's a hard no, unless you want a brake job or an oil change or something like that. But
Not touching that Mercedes diesel.
no, thank you. No Jeeps as far as the diesel engines go.
Okay.
We've learned our lessons.
Should have Oliver come up here.
Oh man, yeah. We got a guy did a diesel. Actually, it was a Mercedes diesel swap in his Wrangler.
Oh, okay.
Like
Well,
a
I
little
mean, if
3 liter or
It
something.
sounded
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah, he put a turbo on it and
Yeah.
everything. I mean, it sounds really good.
Well, it's if I hired a guy that was like into it
Yeah.
and was good with them and wanted to do it, I'd be cool with it. But I'm just not into watching my mechanics be on suicide watch. That's
Fair.
when your mechanics hate life, you hate life,
Right.
And
Yeah, it goes downhill.
when they're not into the job, man, you've never seen feet dragging like.
It's like having toddlers. Go to bed. Nuh-uh.
Yeah, exactly. No,
No,
it's
wow.
crazy. Like, when you give them a job that they really don't want to do, it's like, fuck you, man. That's like the look you get. Like, and you can always tell when you do it because they're pretty quiet with you for a
Right.
couple days, and
Thanks, man. Thanks, boss.
Yeah, you're a dick.
Could have gave that to Joe. Why'd you give it to me?
Really? I got to get the manure truck again?
Apparently I should put off my Mercedes purchase. And I was looking to get me a Sprinter van 4x4 conversion. Apparently not.
No.
Apparently
I'll
not.
tell you now. You had it was an E350 in there not too long ago, wasn't there? I think I drove by and seen it up front.
Yeah,
a-
which one? Like a
Four-wheel
drive?
four-wheel drive one?
Yeah, I think it was a Quigley.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Quigley van.
I remember seeing that and I thought immediately, I'm like, oh, Jim would be into that.
Yeah, dude, I'm love.
Yeah.
I can put all my fishing stuff, my hunting stuff, my photography, all in that. Be dry and warm, and still go places. Like it'd be
Yeah.
rad. Yeah.
Yeah, that you're talking about the blue one.
Maybe, yeah. I think
Yeah,
it was,
it
blue.
was the lifted blue one. Yeah, that one was pretty cool. That one was more like a camper on the inside.
Yeah.
Yes.
He had it all set
Yes,
up, more like an overlander.
That's exactly
what I need.
what he's
Yeah.
into, yeah.
You know.
I do a lot of time in UP, so I like to be able to go someplace and be dry and away from the bears and stuff. Because I sleep in a hammock right now, and I feel like a soft taco for bears. Like they're gonna come up and be like, "Oh, sweet, it's already wrapped."
I just have to close it up at both ends and drag it off, eat it at my leisure.
Little here, little there.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have like a Quigley, like with a bed inside, someplace for my fishing rods and my camera gear. I could do some editing in the thing while I'm looking at the river. This perfect dream in my head. You
Yeah,
know.
we did a full bulletproof on a Quigley van a couple years ago, and Tech was pretty upset with me when I gave it to him. But I told him, I'm like, you know what, just lift the cab up off of it. Maybe it won't be that bad, And actually, it wasn't that bad.
Okay.
Because you're going through the doghouse most of that work, and that's kind of the problem, or what?
Well, if you're doing turbo or up pipes or any of that stuff on a 7.3 or a 6-liter van, no big deal. Injectors suck.
Okay.
They suck. You can't even hardly get the valve covers out. I mean, literally on 7.3 vans, in order to get the injector out for cylinder number 7, you got to take an air hammer and you got to hit the firewall just in front of the doghouse so that you can actually get the injector out.
Massage it a little bit.
Yeah, there's no getting around it. I mean,
You might just save somebody some problems. Somebody on the listener
Yeah.
might be like, "Oh, okay."
He's listening to us right now in his garage, banking the injector off the firewall. Like, how does this come out?
little massaging.
About to take the die grinder, cut the injector in half.
Yeah,
I just weld this back together.
Yeah. You can do that coming out. Just going back in. That's the trick.
problematic.
always a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta be really precise.
Just gotta,
Exactly.
I now have a seven-cylinder van. Just put a bolt in that hole.
Just plug it off. We're done here.
I get a bolt to fit.
We're done here.
Pinch off that line. It'll be fine.
Just remove the exhaust valve.
Oh, that's awesome. But you guys got some trucks that make some big power coming out of there.
Once in a while. Once in a great while. I got a guy right now that's talking to us about a 2019 Super Duty. He'd like it to be between 600 and 800 horsepower. Wants compound turbos on it, all that stuff. And, I'm like, well, you're going to go that high. You're going to need some billet rods unless you're into, folding rods in half. I mean, if you're into that, we can certainly do it for you.
Yeah, that's one way to go.
Yeah, he's like, sometimes we get big horsepower. I'm pushing like 160 in the Jeep, right? I'm like, yeah, anything over that is big to me. He's like, oh, we start at 3. Like,
it's and sometimes like the high ride guys are like, oh, that's 800 horsepower. That's a stock Hellcat or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when we talk foot-pounds of torque.
Well, yeah,
you're
like the
that's like, to me, that's the impressive number right there.
You got your 2020 Super Duty is 440 or 450 horsepower and 1,050 pounds of torque.
right.
None of the new big 3 trucks are sub 400 horsepower. None of them.
Yeah.
And they're all like, I think the Ram and the Duramax are just under 1,000 foot-pounds.
Okay.
And then the Ford is 1,050.
And you're talking this much power and this much torque in a giant vehicle. Like you said, it's cool in the Hellcat when you do 127, but he could pull my house, and still do 80.
Oh, yeah.
That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's what we were kind of talking about earlier, is when you put that torque down on the ground, it's pretty amazing how much advantage you have.
right.
When you make them come to life, it's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
When you really put the screws to them and really give her the fuel.
When you see like an 8,000-pound truck like just ripping past that,
Yeah.
the ground like pauses for a minute. Like,
Because it slows the earth down if it goes the wrong way. Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do is highway pulls with my gooseneck trailer on the back.
Yeah.
That's a ball.
it's like the best thing, like being in a dyno. I think it's like you could feel the power, you could hear the power, and you're just like things are happening.
Right.
It's got to be like being in a space shuttle, like at launch. Like I'm going places.
Probably one of the funnest things that I ever did was me and my buddy Nate were on our way out to the Sterling Heights area to pick up a F450 with a flatbed on it. And we were on 696, where all the tunnels are down by the zoo and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And we were laughing like retards. We had both windows down. We're in my pickup truck, and I'm just wide open throttle with the gooser on the back, just flying. People are like, what the hell's going on? They're looking over, and here goes this truck flying by with a trailer doing 100 miles an hour through the tunnels. We're laughing so hard, tears are coming out of our eyes,
Yeah, it's like that.
Just like that. And you got your new project out there, which
Yeah, we're working on it.
rambles and rattles and doesn't want to go nowhere.
It's getting there.
Okay.
We're getting straightened out.
Yeah, we're gonna get it straightened out. It's gonna sound good, right? Do what it needs to do.
So you break all the rear duals loose when you stomp on it?
No.
Maybe not so much that, but we are going to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah,
So what are
help
we
me
doing?
out. Get that thing running a little tip-top shape.
Nice.
Billet wheel, bellet up pipes, new turbo pedestal.
Yeah.
Just some cleanup items.
Okay.
Or put a billet wheel in, a little bit of surging.
Yeah.
'Cause it really doesn't give you much more power. It just smooths the power out, so you're not getting underneath the turbo and
Okay.
crack out of it and stuff like that. So
You're so excited, dude.
I gotta take you for a ride in that thing.
Yeah?
It's awesome.
got to make the bed go up and down first.
Yeah, that's key. Yeah, I gotta get that fixed.
It's not fixed yet?
No.
Okay.
That's not fixed yet. We're working on that.
Yeah?
Yeah. I got a guy.
Crazy. Crazy.
But yeah, a little side hustle action going on.
Yeah, do what
get
you
to
gotta
that.
do.
We'll
Yeah.
get to that,
Okay.
But new venture. That's probably part of why we're like 2 weeks behind in episodes. But
Yeah.
that and other things.
Yeah. Yeah, the life hit hard and slowed everything down.
Right. Enough about me. Let's talk back about big trucks and going fast and
All right.
banking power.
What do you got? I've dropped my diesel knowledge so far.
Oh,
so
you're out? You're
I did-
spent?
I'm
Oh.
listening. I'm like taking in, like, okay, well, I had the.
I think you'd be like a kid in a candy shop over there.
Oh, dude, it's rad, but it's like I don't really understand the whole like they're bigger, they're heavier, they're like way more stuff going on. I got to figure out like I put gas in mine, and I drive, and I pay like $30 for oil, and I'm done. Like,
It's a little
I'm hearing
more
fuel
complicated.
filters every 80 miles, and I'm like, what? The
Well, that might be a little extreme. I typically recommend fuel filters every other oil change.
Okay.
But it's
Some people, that's 80 miles.
Yeah, right.
well, I
When,
guess that
when
could
you
be.
fill your oil full of connecting rod.
Well,
You should probably change that.
yeah, pretty much.
I'm noticing a resurgence in the diesels, right? I mean, because now you've got like the common rail diesel, like the Jeeps. You've got the ZR2s coming out with a diesel. The Jetta's a diesel. What I mean, there's a lot more.
F-150 has a diesel. Ram
Right.
Eco diesel. There's a new half-ton Duramax diesel.
Okay.
I think the Canyon might have a diesel option
Yeah,
too.
yeah. If you're talking about
Yeah.
that,
Colorado.
that ZR2
Yeah,
Colorado.
the Rangers had a diesel in it forever. They just don't offer it in the United States
Right.
of America. You
So
know,
why? Because like I see it in Africa and Australia, the diesels are like their primary diesels. Like petrol cars are the weird ones over there.
yeah, thank our friendly EPA
Okay.
because they make emissions so tough. And the smaller that you make a vehicle, the more strict they are on the emissions.
Okay.
So, like, you know, your F-350, 450, 550 have a much tighter emission standard than the 650, 750 do, which have a tougher emission standard than the heavy-duty trucks do, you know, like your Kenworths and your Peterbilts and
Okay.
stuff like that. You know, it's the class of vehicle. Whatever class of vehicle, the lower the class, the more strict the emissions are on it. And really, it's, in my opinion, doesn't make a profound difference. It just costs a whole bunch more money to,
Okay.
you know, deal with it. I feel terrible for people sometimes. They come into the shop and, you know, we take a look at it and we're like, sorry, man, you need DPF and an SCR, and you know, you're gonna need $5,000 to $8,000 worth of work on your exhaust.
Okay.
You know, and it's just your exhaust. We're not doing any engine work. It's and you know, there's
Well, you're like my whole. Oh, it just runs like crap. Oh well, it's this giant, really expensive exhaust system
Yeah.
the government made the manufacturer.
Because $5 to
put this
$8 grand, I
thing
buy a
on
whole new motor for
that
like a regular
pumps
gasser.
cat piss into it.
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty terrible. I mean, it's really terrible what they've done. I mean, it's not like you're getting anything out of it. I mean, they say that the air is cleaner because of it, but
Okay.
I don't really buy it because what's it take to manufacture the stuff?
Right.
You know, how much emissions are we creating just by having to manufacture all these emissions constantly at these plants?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the regens. I mean, if you ever watch a truck go into regen, the shit that comes out the tailpipe, I'm like sitting
It
there
sounds like
going,
you're just collecting it
Yeah,
and
I'm
putting
like-
it out later.
Exactly. I'm like sitting there watching a truck that you can't see through the ass end of the truck when it's in a forest regen after we do some work on it. You can't see past it. And it's like, well, pretty sure everything that you saved just going out the tailpipe right now.
Yeah.
So, you know, and what's it take to dispose of the shit when you take it off, and, you know, where's it going then? You know, plus two, they typically use 20 to 30% more fuel with the emissions during regens. They dose one of the cylinders or multiple cylinders with fuel on an exhaust stroke to send raw fuel through to, you know, burn everything off inside the exhaust. You wash your cylinders down. You know, if you don't pay attention to it and you're not keeping an eye on it, you know, you wash your cylinders down, you get fuel dilution in your oil, and, you know, then you wipe out the lower end of your motor, and then you got to buy a motor. What are we saving? I don't
Right.
understand. You know, it seems like a, it seems like a money grab.
Crazy.
Right, really, for me. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't. From my end of the deal, I just don't see what it's saving.
Right.
So-
your industry kind of took a hit with like the performance side too, right? And the
Huge
EPA
hit.
kind of came down
Yeah.
on them. I know it was like the
Oh, yeah.
the Discovery Channel Diesel Brothers show. I think they got hit with some crazy fines.
Yeah,
and
some
things like
serious
that.
fines, yeah.
Yeah, they came into our shop,
Yeah.
and we had to stop. You know, we were
Right.
doing all kinds of performance work, and now when we do performance work, we have to make sure that we're doing performance work on stuff that's either A, pre-emissions, or B, that's not going to be on the road.
Right.
You know,
So if I want to like build a diesel drag truck, you could do
I'm
it.
your man.
Okay.
You know, but if you're gonna bring me your truck and have me do all kinds of work to it, and then you're gonna daily drive it, I can't do it.
Okay.
You know, I can't, because the EPA will come in. They threaten me with almost $500,000 in fines just to, you know, just for what we had done. And
Yeah.
you know, I mean, they were gracious enough to never, you know, do anything with it. But I
Just
think
like a cease and desist from here forth kind of thing.
pretty much. I don't know if it was just to scare the shit out of us or if it was.
Sounds like it worked.
You know, well, I mean,
Yeah.
You know,
I,
it
like
was-
I don't want to play. I wouldn't want to play with that kind
$500,000.
you know, we did kind of, thumb our noses at the EPA for a long time. We joked about it,
Right.
made fun about it, but when they came in, we were like, oh, holy shit, it's real.
Yeah.
You guys do exist.
Okay.
It's like the Men in Black.
It was like, all right, I guess we're all done here.
Yeah.
And it was
The guy
tough.
with the large hands was surprisingly gentle.
We weren't sure if we were going to make it afterwards
Yeah.
either because we figured that was a huge portion of our business.
Yeah.
And it was really tough. It was a massive part of our business, and all that stuff made a lot of profit.
Right.
So we had to change things around. We did definitely have to bump our labor rates and our parts prices up a little bit.
Yep.
Stuff like that, but our customers all seem pretty gracious with it.
They get it.
Nobody said anything.
Okay.
Nobody complains.
Yeah. Well, kind of it is what it is. at
And
certain
some of that,
points,
like you
and-
said, coming into the diesel world, like you're just ready to break out the checkbook. It sounds like it's nothing's cheap. If I'm paying $8,000 for an exhaust, we made one in Jay's garage for the Jeep for like $37. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I would say the average repair at the shop's probably between $1,700 and $2,200. That's pretty standard. I mean, we're slightly above average for nationwide repair,
Okay.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think the nationwide average repair is like $500 or $450 or something like that.
and you're saying for gassers or for diesel?
Yeah, for like a standard repair facility,
Okay.
like across the board as an average.
Okay.
I think it's like $450 or $500 is like the average repair, and our average repair is between $1,700 and $2,200. So
How's that big heavy duty truck sounding now, Jim?
I'm just gonna get a gas one.
I will say there's a lot of people that buy diesels that shouldn't,
Okay.
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people that don't buy diesel that should.
Okay.
There's I know quite a few people that put way too many miles on their gasser, to a point of, dude, you're wasting money by not having the diesel, because a diesel pickup truck sporting a big load, say a 15,000 pound load,
Okay.
they're going to be cruising around for the most part, probably averaging between 13 and 15 miles per gallon.
Uh huh.
That same gasser barely gets 15 miles per gallon by itself.
Right.
And then you throw a big load on it, it's 8 or 9 miles per gallon.
Well, we threw the Jeep on your gasser and pulled like what 9 to Moab,
Yeah, we got like a solid.
and that's not 15,000 pound load.
No.
Let's say you pull 15,000
Well, we were running-
behind your half ton. You're
Yeah.
No.
to Moab. You got some balls,
No.
man.
No. It was, I don't know, whatever your Jeep weighs on
Yeah,
the back of a
probably
trailer.
like
and we were-
5,500.
I mean, we had all our stuff for a week.
Still ain't 15,000 pounds.
No, God, no. No. But we're talking a significantly smaller engine.
Yeah.
A whopping 3.5 liters, twin turbo power. I mean, it does good. I like the power that it makes, but
Hey, at least it's got turbos on it.
Right.
it does.
I mean,
They're fun.
I got a sticker on the back of my truck that says, "Truck without a turbo is like a man without balls."
Yeah. There we go.
There it is. So, what do you think is causing, like we were talking about a little bit ago, like the resurgence? Like, why do I need a turbo diesel ZR2 or like a Colorado?
Yeah.
Fuel economy.
Okay.
Period. End
But
of
you just
story.
said it's less economic with all the stuff on it.
Well,
So where am I
mean,
at?
For a pickup truck, yes. For the cars, I mean, there's another huge portion of that too. You can't idle.
Okay.
So like idling with emissions on your diesel is about the worst thing you can do. You get wet stacking, you get coking, stuff like that. It basically plugs your exhaust up, and then it all gets hard inside there.
Okay.
Which
And then-
was like that was like the standard go-to back in the day, where I was like, oh, diesel. You
Yeah.
think of like
Yeah.
the Kenworth, like that guy idles for days.
Days, yeah. When he's on his downtime at the
It's
truck
cool.
stop. Yeah.
Let's go. My Colorado's a diesel. Let's let it run.
Yeah.
Let it run. That's where everyone's just, yeah.
Yeah,
I
they
can see how
can't.
that's just
They can't
really-
keep the exhaust temperature up, so it goes below, efficiency threshold, and then it starts getting what's called coking and wet stacking and stuff like that, where it starts getting this heavy buildup in the filters and the particulate filters and the DPF and all that stuff, and it can't burn it back off once you start getting that stuff in there. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you can pull them off and you can take them and have them baked, and they can bake it out of there for
Okay.
20 hours or
Put in a
however
kiln
long
or
they do it
something.
for. Yeah, pretty much. You put it in a giant oven and they just smash hot air through it, trying to break everything apart on it. So really, I guess if I had to give any advice on a diesel is don't idle it when you have emissions. Get to where you're going, shut it off. I mean, you can idle a little bit, but don't just unnecessarily leave your car idling.
But like I've slept in the Jeep with it running overnight.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to once in a while, that's one thing. But I would say that if you
just got to do a heavy highway pull afterwards.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. I would say, though, like if you sleep in your pickup or you sleep in your car or whatever and you leave it idling because it's super cold or super hot out or whatever, probably in your best interest to take it out as soon as you wake up, not even shut it off. Take it out on, a good hot drive.
Give it the business, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just to, burn some of that shit out. Because when you shut them off and they cool down, that's when a lot of the problems
so it's kind of still stays liquefied-ish while it's warm, and then if I shut it off, it hardens up.
Yeah, and I think that the humidity getting into the exhaust as it cools down, because as things cool down with heat, it starts drawing moisture into it. I think that's where a bigger part of the problem comes in. Is it gets all.
It sounds to me like a bigger problem is this emissions exhaust filter crap.
Absolutely.
Back to days you can just straight pipe it.
Yeah.
The turbo is an exhaust muffler.
Exactly. Yeah, legal muffler. There we go.
That's
a
what? Muffler.
If we compound it, I'll have 2 mufflers.
Yes, double the mufflers.
Super quiet.
I think that was actually. Remember the joke was like trying to get a muffler bearing at like the auto parts store. I think it was like a '94 Ford Probe. Like the part was a muffler bearing.
Nice.
It was like the rear bearing on the turbo or something like that. Someone looked it up. I'm like, damn it.
There is one.
We should hang one from the garage wall here
Hey,
somewhere.
there's still not blinker fluid.
There is still not blinker fluid,
But there is exhaust fluid now.
But I'm gathering if there will be, it'll be in diesel first.
Right. the way they're going.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the EPA is pretty evil, when it comes to, stuff like that.
bunch of fun governors.
We could go so much further with diesel if
Okay.
there wasn't so many limitations by them, and I think private industry would take care of it all on its own. It's never big government that solves these problems. It's always private industry that solves these problems.
So, but at what point, I mean, and I guess this is for the tree saver, the tree hugger side of us, like, at what point is it not just putting everybody sees the black diesel smoke, right, and they're thinking pollution.
Right.
If you take the EPA stuff off, I know you got to mine the platinum to make those things work. You got to do something special with them when they're done. But if I just cut all that out and just had a straight pipe turbo diesel, is that less efficient? It's more efficient, so I'm saving dinosaurs, but am I more polluting? You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean,
where's the argument for these people?
I guess technically you are. The thing is that black soot that you see coming out is actually considered a heavy organic carbon.
Okay.
So even by like the EPA, if you look it up, that's that diesel particulate.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heavy organic carbon. It's not like it's something terrible. The bad thing with diesels is NOx, the nitrogen oxides.
Okay.
And the more oxygen rich the air going into the cylinders, the more nitrogen oxides get created. That's where the DEF comes in now.
Okay. So the more you turbo something and pump more air into it.
Yeah, well,
Right,
the better the oxygen.
Okay.
The richer the oxygen, the more nitrogen oxides you get.
It's when you put
coming out the
nitrous on it.
And that's where EGR comes in. They use EGR when they open the EGR valve up, they're actually lowering the percentage of oxygen getting into the cylinders. But man, it just destroys the inside of your engine. That's, it's always confused me. Like, we could all get behind, the DPF and the SCR and all that stuff, the urea, all that, fine, whatever. Because the urea actually in the exhaust system binds with the nitrogen oxide particles and separates them and turns them into water and nitrogen again.
Okay.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Cool.
I got
Yeah,
no problem
it's
with
not that
that
bad.
whatsoever. Where I start running into the problems is with like EGR and stuff like that. When we've got all these great filters. We've got oil filters that are amazing. We've got fuel filters that are second to none. We've got these just awesome air cleaning systems in them now. And then we literally are shoving a pipe from the exhaust straight to the intake with a cooler in between that's cooling it down so it's not melting your seals as it goes into your motor. And we're literally piping soot back into the motor and just clogging everything up with carbon.
Right.
It's literally be no different than shoving a tube in your butt and sucking up your farts. I mean, it's literally exactly what you're doing. Okay, it's
which I think like that kills the legendary like longevity.
Yes.
That's known as diesels, right? You're
it-
killing that. You're costing so much more. So
Absolutely.
then the cost savings isn't as much.
Well,
Like, yeah, if they eliminate all that, we go back to the day of just like, oh, it's an engine that's reliable, lasts forever,
Right.
it's relatively efficient.
right. You know, and that's kind of where I go back to the what are we saving here?
Right.
We're having to produce more engines. We're having to produce more injectors. We're having to produce more gaskets. Are we really saving anything?
Mm-hmm.
Are we really? I mean, if you really sit back and look at everything and how many more engines, because EGR cuts the life of an engine in half.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, if you would get 500,000 miles out of it, you're going to get $250,000.
Right, 'cause
with
you're
EGR.
Slamming dirt
Yeah,
back through.
literally,
it.
it's carbon. It's like you know, it's like raw diamond form.
Right,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it's you know, and so you're destroying the valves, you're destroying the rings, you're destroying the cylinders. You know, I mean, when we pull intakes off of things, you see chunks of carbon this big rolling out of it, and there's times where we've had trucks that wouldn't run right, and for no good reason. They didn't have any codes. Everything was supposed to be there. They just had no power. Finally, we get to a point where we take the intake off, and you got something that's a port that's an inch in diameter, but it only has a port the size of a pencil hole in it,
Right.
because there's so much carbon packed into it.
It's
You're like,
got
oh,
cholesterol.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're
There you
feeding
go.
these things fast food. We need to cut that thing down. Get some
Exactly.
lean elk meat in that thing. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Literally, you dig all the carbon out, you clean the intake out of it, and all that stuff, put it all back together. You didn't put any sensors in it. You didn't change anything else, just some labor, and the thing runs amazing again.
Really?
You know, and you're sitting there going, yeah, this is the answer.
This fixes everything.
This
Here
is
you
the
go.
answer. You know, I don't know. I don't.
And at that point, the guy was like, "I told you I wasn't hard on it."
Yeah. Right.
Well, that would be one case. That would be one case where I'd be like, all right, you got me.
You win.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
You were way too gentle on this thing.
No, that's the problem. You were too gentle.
However, sir, I pulled your valve covers off, and there's this much sludge on your valve covers. Okay.
I told you.
So-
when I have to pay 5 gallons for an oil, spread it out a little bit thinner.
By the way, change your goddamn oil, please. Don't come to me complaining about how shit's worn out when you've got 2 inches of filth inside the top of your motor. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
I'm not going to have any remorse for you.
So,
That's not a cheap fix.
who should look for a diesel? Like, if somebody's looking for a truck right now, who should look at a diesel?
Oh, well, I guess it depends on what you're doing. I
Okay.
mean,
That's kind of what you're gonna tell us. Like,
anybody that's hauling anything heavy regularly.
Okay.
I mean, if you're hauling over 7,500 pounds on the regular, probably in your best interest to get a diesel, and not a half ton. For God's sake, not a half ton. Okay, there's still half tons.
Vermont says I can pull 10,000.
You need a 3/4 ton. Yeah, it can. Doesn't mean it should be done.
do anything once.
Okay, turn or stop, but it'll pull it.
Yeah, and I mean anything. If you're hauling anything heavy regularly, you should consider having a diesel. If you're taking long trips, if you're taking really long trips and you're not necessarily hauling anything heavy, but you're taking really long trips, it's in your best interest to have a diesel. They get better fuel economy.
Okay.
Truck for truck, as far as trucks go, stuff like that, you're probably talking 30% better fuel mileage.
So even a half ton, say a 150 diesel versus a 150 with an EcoBoost in it.
Yeah,
I'd be better off with a diesel truck for like going here to California for something.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You're gonna use a lot less fuel doing it to go all that way.
Can I get a Jake brake in that? 'Cause I just want to.
I do believe they have not a Jake brake. You can't get a Jake brake in anything.
I just wanted to sound really cool.
Not a semi, because a true Jake brake uses the intake valves to do what it's doing.
Can you make me like a sound that I can put on a speaker?
Anything can be done.
Hell yeah.
Anything can be done. But they do have engine braking.
Okay.
They close the vanes down on the turbo, the variable vanes. They
Uh-huh.
close it down on the turbo and holds the exhaust into the motor, and so it turns into an engine brake.
Okay.
So
There you go.
I'm sciencing, dude. I'm sciencing it up.
Yeah, I know you're like feeling like, huh?
Oh, I'm not
say-
getting a diesel, bro. Like
I think you-
they are above my knowledge base. Like, because I'd be parked in the UP with a motor froze up full of thick diesel stuff. I got to start a fire in my truck to get somewhere, like past. Like, they're rad for towing. Like, if I had to tow a bunch of stuff all the time, if I had a Kubota to tow, I would have a diesel truck.
Yeah. Well, that's why I have a diesel truck.
That's why you have a diesel truck. Like,
upgraded.
Your Ford did just fine towing the Jeep for as far as we had to tow it. Like,
Yeah, I did fine.
so from here to West Branch,
It's luxury.
it'd be fine.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
I'm the guy he's talking about. Because I would show up like, bro, I don't know what it did.
It just makes a noise. It's weird.
Yeah.
I push the pedal thingy to go, and it doesn't.
They to call and hit me with that $2,200 bill. But how much for you to keep it?
Hey, there's a lot of people that do that to me, man.
Yeah.
You just get the title in the mail.
Well, I've never had that happen. Which, by the way, if you've left a truck at my shop, please just send a title. Okay, but it's funny because there's a lot of people that they tell us, oh yeah, get going on it, blah 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 blah, and then we call them up. Hey, you gonna bring down some money, or
right.
you can. Oh yeah, I'll bring down some money. When? Oh, next week on Tuesday. Okay, cool. So a month later, I call them up. Hey man, need you to do something here. You got to do something, and then they ghost you. They stop calling.
Yeah.
They won't answer your phone. Nothing like that. Eventually, it's pretty funny because we get after a certain amount of days, we have the right to send a letter off the state of Michigan, and then they sent us some paperwork back. We fill that paperwork out, and then we ship one off the state of Michigan, one off to the homeowner, stating that on such and such a date, your truck's going to be going up for auction, and if it doesn't sell, it becomes ours. And suddenly we get a response.
Crazy.
It's amazing, And you didn't tell me this. You didn't tell me. I told you everything.
I called you 37 times.
Well, and we document every time that we're calling them, and it's like, oh, you didn't call me. We called you this day. We called you this day. Exactly this time.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. They're like, my head financial officer, who I'm married to, said that it was dumb for me to get that dumb truck anyway, and that I didn't need it to go to my office.
Yeah. That's why it rang twice and hung up. I wasn't wrong number. I was just ignoring you. Didn't mean it.
But yeah, I've had some interesting stories too. I've had some guys that ghosted me and then found out they went to jail. I've had
that's a different story. At least it was their fault, but at least not ghosting you was wasn't a purposeful ghost.
Well,
They don't sell my truck.
If it's handcuffs or calling the diesel guy, I'm pretty sure that you're not that high on the list.
Priorities.
Yeah.
Priorities. My one phone call. Eric
Lawyer, lawyer, my mechanic. Hey,
I
bro.
don't want him to sell my truck.
Hey, bro, I love that truck. I love that truck, bro. I'll pay you when I get out.
hey, you know what? I'd probably work with them.
Right.
I probably would. I'd probably be like, all right, bro, you're going to have to pay storage, but I'll work with you.
You start getting ramen in the mail.
What's this half pack of cigarettes? What is this? Dude, that's like gold.
Oh, that's Joey trying. Joey's trying.
I would probably consider that rent for a month if somebody did that. I'd laugh my ass off. I'd be like, all right, you got a month.
You're watching you say, and someone's listening right now.
He'll end up with a case of ramen on his doorstep tomorrow. Hell, I might get some at the gas station on the way home and throw it in his front door. That one across the street sells some really cool ramen bowls.
Okay.
I stopped in there tonight to get a pop, and I was like, "Oh, okay, let's go put some on his front door." a loose smoke and a ramen bowl. Here you go. This is the start of me getting a diesel. So when I call you, you know who took care of you.
This will actually be really funny too, because I'm never at the shop anymore.
Okay.
I'm always out on the road. I'm a mobile road mechanic.
Okay.
So I'm always out on the road. So I'm gonna laugh my ass off. The shop starts calling. Hey,
we keep getting these freaking things of ramen.
What's up with the ramen showing up here, man?
Ramen and had 2 cigarettes taped to it. I don't know what's going on with that.
Bubs will be like, tell him to send beer.
The discount code is ramen noodle.
Right. Okay.
All right. Well,
I'm trying to think of
anything
any other intriguing questions I have about
amazing
diesel
questions.
life. Yeah.
This is it. This is the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll come back.
Yeah.
It wasn't so
sure, it's
bad.
not far.
So.
It worked out good.
Yeah.
I just want to hear him say atomization some more. All them
Yeah,
science
really
words.
scientific.
Yeah. Atomization, the NXOs, and the EGR. He's making up words. I don't even know what acronyms he's
He's
using.
like, Jay, is there a test at the end of this?
Can I copy?
Just answer C, dude. You'll be fine.
He's dropping acronyms on me like I know what they mean. Like, oh, yeah, cool, yeah. EGR?
He's Googling it. What the hell is that?
I couldn't get fast enough. I was trying it first.
But I think that definitely helped out some people. We definitely have people like the overland community, like you said, looking at like the diesel Colorado.
Yeah, diesel Colorado's huge right now.
I know there's some people excited about the diesel Jeep Wrangler. I guess is coming out. Maybe I
Yeah.
heard something.
yeah, absolutely.
But that's gonna be one of those
So
weird
just have
ones.
some
though, like he's
information
talking
about that.
Like he's talking about the weird Jeep diesels earlier, so it might be
Yeah.
an issue. Like,
Well, I mean, if you can get one that has been properly maintained, they're actually really good engines.
okay,
They're just such a pain in the ass. And I can tell you right now, anybody that goes, for the most part, most people that go and buy one of those, they're going to get it for $3,500 to $5,500.
okay,
They're older Jeep diesel or whatever. They're going to bring it to me, and if it needs a turbo, I'm going to give them a bill that's the same size as the cost of the vehicle.
okay.
Right.
Because of the labor that goes into it and all
All
that
right.
kind of stuff. I always feel bad when people bring me stuff, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it, especially if I found out they just bought it, and I'm like, dude, super bummed out because you just paid $7,500 for this truck. And I'm going to approach you with a $9,300 bill because you need head gaskets, you need head gaskets, you need a whole bunch of front end work, you need U-joints all the way around, you've got a leaking rear wheel seal, you need shocks, you need,
Let's just focus on the diesel.
But what about like the newer stuff? Newer stuff coming out, like you can buy today at the dealership.
Yeah, it's all good.
Oh, pretty good.
It's all good. I mean, they've all done pretty good.
It's all neutered, but it's all good.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're getting better with it.
Heavily
I mean, they are. I will give them credit. They're getting better. The manufacturers are getting better with, the emissions on them and them
Right.
lasting longer and not being so sissified, if you will. They seem to be getting better with putting power with the emissions and stuff like that because they were terrible when they first came out with the emissions on them.
It's almost like the gas emissions of like the 80s and 70s
Right.
and stuff like that.
It's like, you were getting into trucks and you're like, oh my God, what is this? Like, this is terrible. Somebody get this thing a, turbo.
Right.
Oh, there is one in there? I didn't realize that. That's
Sounds like the Tim Ryan answer. More cylinders or a turbo is the only way to fix it.
Yeah. That's it. That's the only way. What's the greatest thing about this is like every time we always have a guest on, and it seems like we just complicate other people's decisions.
Yeah.
Like we're always gonna get messages like, "Well, I was gonna buy the Colorado with a diesel, but now I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do now."
So if somebody wants to buy a used diesel, do you do like a shop, like $200? I'll go over your truck and tell you-
$150
Okay.
actually. It's $150 for a full blown inspection on it, and definitely get a pre-inspection.
Okay.
Get a pre-inspection before you buy the diesel. Don't buy the diesel and then bring it to me and find out it needs $8,000 worth of work.
Bingo.
That'd be nice bargain. Will you give me like a printout, like a bargaining chip, so I can go back and be
Absolutely.
like, it needs $8,000 worth of work?
Absolutely, and I won't lie to anybody.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a full blown printout. It's going to be perfectly honest. It's just going to be. It is what it is.
Cool.
I don't care either way. Whether somebody gets mad at me that's trying to buy it, somebody gets mad at me trying to sell it. I'm an independent.
Right.
I'm
Third party,
unbiased,
non-partial, yeah.
Don't care. This is what's wrong with this truck.
Well,
Yeah.
If I blow 150 with you and I save 40 grand down the road, like it sounds like it's a pretty fair
Oh,
fair investment
yeah.
of mine.
Oh,
Save yourself
absolutely.
thousands, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, shit. Look at
You
it.
said $9,500 bill. Like,
Well, I mean, you don't buy a boat without a survey.
right.
You get a boat survey. Those are $600 to $1,000 typically.
Okay.
Even if it's a $10,000 boat, you still spend $1,000 having a survey done to make sure that the stringers aren't rotting on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's really a survey to tell you.
You can't sink in a truck, though.
Well, I mean,
Well, financially,
actually,
Yeah, you could.
can. You could also end up divorced.
Yeah. well, we can do that in a Jeep, though.
You can do that in anything.
Yeah,
let's
it
be
does
honest.
seem
Motorcycle,
like,
Jeep.
It does seem like everything is expensive. But we do seem to end every show with like, do your homework.
Pretty much. I mean, if you don't,
your
it's
research.
really kind of your own fault. Although you can also fall too far down in the rabbit holes on things too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like people come in and they I was online and I was reading this and I was reading that, and then this and then that, and then they leave and then they're calling us, hey, what about this? What about that? Dude, we got it.
Yeah.
Like we know
Yeah.
what we're doing. Well, I was reading and
Yeah,
come on, man.
That was on diesel forums.
yeah.
I'm not sure if that's a thing. No salted diesel forums, if that's a thing. But like,
No,
a thing?
it's definitely a thing,
Yeah.
and there's too many of those things.
oh, yeah.
There's a podcast. There's more than one.
Really?
Yeah. We're gonna compete with
But do
them
they have
right
this
now.
guy?
Not at all. Doesn't have our local diesel expert
Yeah.
on hand. answer your questions and your calls.
I do-
Call her on line 3.
Right.
I do my best, to try and inform people, and you don't got to be afraid to call the shop. We're happy to give some advice. I mean, we're not going to help you rebuild your engine over the phone,
Right.
but
You got to use FaceTime for that.
yeah,
And you guys are on all the social medias, right? Motor City.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
okay.
it's MotorCityDieselPerformance.com. We're on Facebook, Motor City Diesel. I don't know what Rob and Blake have us on everything
On
else.
the
I'm not
gram?
the tech guy.
We'll
He fixed stuff.
just let them know. We'll tag them on the gram and everything,
Okay.
and we'll get all that set up.
He's going to go and be like, yeah, Jay said he's tagging you on the gram. Like,
Yeah.
you know what that means? Because I'm just confused with Jim while talking about EGRs and PBRs and DLTs. And
Oh,
I know one of the things that's been selling great is the T-style radios. We've been installing Tesla-style radios in
Okay.
what's the Tesla style radio?
the big ones.
big, massive one. It's like 16 inches tall.
What?
And it integrates everything. Like, we put one in your F-150.
What?
And you pull everything out from the center console,
Okay.
it fully integrates everything. So anything that does have knobs on it,
It now has a
it's a touchscreen, and it controls it by the touchscreen. They're actually fairly cheap, too.
Elon sends you the piece that connects to your head. And you just think what the car does, and it
Yeah.
doesn't.
No, definitely not
That's
that.
Gen
next
2.
year's
Gen
model.
2, yeah.
2021, baby.
So,
See you rolling around with that thing in there.
Cerebral link.
yeah, the
Right to your
T-style
dome.
radio's been selling really well. And
I'll have to check that out.
yeah, it's actually pretty sweet. I'm gonna put one in the Explorer.
Make
Yeah,
Explorer.
for the wife.
That's awesome.
her happy. Why not?
Hey, exactly.
Hope Ange doesn't hear this.
You're in trouble.
Dude, my
You're
girl is
getting
a
the
tech
test-
nerd.
Oh.
So she'd be,
This is what she do for Christmas, dude? When she's not listening?
I can figure out the radio she has in it now,
Hook you
bro.
up, dude. Bring dude some ramen.
We're driving. I'm like, hey, babe, can you change the channel for me? She's like, just push the button. I'm like, what button? There's 300. I'm used to, like, you preset, you push the thing, and
There's like a 1 through 6.
yeah.
It's pretty funny because my F-350 has a radio with a knob that you turn the volume up and
Yeah.
down, and it's got 10 presets on it.
Ooh, you had the updated one. Okay.
Okay, it's got 10. It's got 10
XLT,
buttons
I
on
see.
it. Even says 1 through 10 on it.
Okay.
You know? And it's never on.
Really?
I listen to the music under the hood.
Get
Yeah.
that.
Massive amounts of air
Hashtag
movement.
Turbo Life. Yeah.
I can listen to that for hours.
So, all right. Well, I think it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
I think so.
gonna
Unless you
go-
guys got something else.
We go research urea and EGRs when I get to the house.
Well, we're getting to that magic hour
Uh-huh.
moment where it's like we
Everything
can
goes to
we can
hell.
either put it on the gram or we gotta just say, hey, go to YouTube.
Go to the YouTubes.
So
Oh, gotcha.
Put it on the gram.
put it on the gram. All right.
Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, anytime. Come back anytime, guys.
Dun, 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 dun.